Greetings. This is a $12 piston-filled pen from China. This is the Caliarts Ego. It is a pretty much all plastic, transparent demonstrator pen, fairly light pen, only weighs about 17 grams as it's pretty much all plastic. Sort of a typically sized pen. Here it is compared to a Lamy Safari and a Pilot Metropolitan. This pen is a piston filler. It's got this sort of double ring piston going on here with two O-rings that are red, which provides a nice sort of contrast there. Piston turning knob at the rear of the pen. It's got a really nice kind of clip. I like the clip. It's sort of a sword blade shaped clip, I guess. It clips fairly well, nice and springy. One thing it does have that I really always appreciate is the fact that the upper finial of the cap can be unscrewed and the clip can be removed and adjusted if the clip ever gets bent, which is a feature that I always appreciate. It takes about 1.5 turns to remove the cap. The threads are not obtrusive at all, and you can barely feel them. You do see an O-ring here that is not to seal the barrel and the section. They are one piece. This is actually to seal the cap down, so you get kind of a nice. As you can see, there is no inner cap, so that is to create a nice seal, so the pen does not dry out. It is, like I said, pretty much all transparent, including the feed. It has a transparent feed, which is very nice. If you have a pretty ink like this one, you can really get to see it in the feed, which is always nice. Decently sized section, has a little bit of flare at the end. The pen does post. It does not post particularly deeply, and for those of you that don't like this sort of thing, it does post on the end of the piston turning knob. I have not had an issue with inadvertently turning the knob, but you know, not to say it can't happen, but it hasn't been a problem for me. It does not post deeply or particularly solidly, but it does post. Comfortable to hold. Section, like I said, is pretty nice. These threads are, you can't really feel them really at all. Nice little bit of flare at the end of the section, which is nice. The nib is a steel nib that says Iridium Point, Caliarts, has a little bit of scroll work, and then an F for fine. And that is pretty much it for the pen itself. Let's take a brief look at how this pen is packaged. Okay, the pen comes in this sort of unassuming gray box, but when you take it out, what you get is this nice little tin, which I really kind of like. They kind of doing a little bit of what TWSBI does. They give you a tool to open up the piston mechanism for cleaning. They also give you 2 extra O-rings. Now the extra O-rings are clear O-rings as opposed to the O-rings that are built into the piston, which are red. So you can either just swap them out right away if you don't particularly like the red ones, or wait until they need to be replaced, etc. But it is nice that they give you kind of an option there. Speaking of options, one of the things they also give you is a separate feed, and a spare feed. This one is black, so if you don't like the transparent one, you could swap that out. And they give you another nib, which is an extra fine nib. It would have been nice, at least in my opinion, to give you a medium or broad nib to contrast the fine nib. I'm not a particularly big fan of extra fines, but I can't complain because it kind of is a little bit of a freebie. But be that as it may, it's still pretty nice. Comes nicely packaged, so you can make a nice gift or stocking stuffer with this pen because the packaging is pretty nice considering it's a $12 pen. A lot of cheaper Chinese pens don't really come with any sort of packaging that are giftable, and this is sort of a gift-ready package, which is always pretty nice. Well, I guess that's about all we want to say about the pen from an exterior perspective, but pens were meant to write. Let's see how this guy writes. Okay, what we're writing with here is a Caliarts Ego. I'm guessing they kind of borrowed that name from the TWSBI Echo. I can't think of why, otherwise they would have called it the Ego. But be that as it may, you know, there is some similarities. We're talking about a piston-filled, transparent, Chinese-made, relatively low-cost pen with a steel nib, etc. So, you know, the comparisons to the TWSBI Echo are somewhat valid. So this is a fine steel nib. The nib does not really have much of anything in the way of flex available. If you can see, if you even try to flex it, it railroads, so not really a flex nib, but then again, they don't market it as such, so you shouldn't be disappointed. It has a average flow in terms of wetness, etc. It's decently smooth, I'd say. You know, you may not the smoothest nib I've ever used, but it is a fine. I mean, you're not going to get silky smooth out of a inexpensive fine steel nib like this. You could probably take a little bit of micro mesh to it, etc., and tune it if you so desired, but it is quite serviceable right out of the box, as you can see right here. So all in all, not a bad pen nib at all. And you know, the transparent demonstrator is always, if you have a nice looking ink, you can, you know, you do have that aspect going for you as well, which is always very, very welcome. And like I said, I'm a big fan of the transparent feed. I think that looks really, really, really nice. So that's about it for this pen. Before I do that, let me just say one thing. Like I said, it's a $12 piston-filled demonstrator pen. I would say that at this price point, for a Chinese-made transparent demonstrator piston-filled pen, my first choice is still the Wingsung 618. That, however, is a hooded nib pen, so if you're not a fan of that, this might be a good, viable alternative. But that is still my go-to pen at that price point for a transparent piston-filled demonstrator pen. So I'm still a big fan of the Wingsung 618, but again, if you're not a fan of the hooded nib, this might be a good viable option for you. So in any case, now let's talk about this ink, which is really a really nice, pretty ink. So this is Diamine Syrah. Syrah is a wine that I believe originally comes from Australia, and that is what this color is meant to represent. I know quite a bit more about pens and ink than I do about wine, so I can't really opine as to how accurately they've rendered the color of the wine, but it is a nice winey type color. It's a little bit similar to Iroshizuku Yamabudo, except this one doesn't really have any special effects, doesn't have shimmer or anything like that the Iroshizuku ink has. This has really no special effects at all, barely shades very much at all, no shimmer, no sheen. But it is a very pretty color. You don't see too many inks that are this particular family of colors, and I really like it quite a bit. It's sort of a brownish maroon, burgundy red type color, and I think it's nice. It's very nice. It's nice and contrasty. It's well behaved, etc. So, and it's fairly reasonably priced, like most Diamine inks are. You can get it both in this small 30 milliliter bottle as well as the full size 80 milliliter Diamine bottles. So, pretty nice pen, pretty nice ink this week. I think we did well. So, I guess that might be it for today. As always, if you have any comments, suggestions, etc., please let me know. And please, please, please subscribe. In any case, have a very good day. Bye-bye.